right? Our new project is this reference. And we're going to work on the sky, sea, sand. So for the sky, I'm using white and cobalt blue and phthalo blue. So let's take a white brush so we can cover as much as we can of the sky for the sky. Let's dip in, or kind of put white first. And you can take it from there. That's why we're using a big brush, so we can cover quickly before the paint dries, especially for the first layer. Second layer will be easier. All right. Now let's take cobalt blue, dip it in. Dip the cobalt blue in the white and blend. Spread it.
Cerulean work?
Cerulean will work, of course. Any blue you have is fine. It's not going to look perfect for the first layer, so that's okay. We don't need, it doesn't need to look perfect. We're just covering the brown that we have, the burnt umber underpainting in burnt umber. Now, while I'm spreading this, I'm going to take white again and take at this point, and I'll stop in a minute. Phthalo blue. So we used a different blue for the sky, and we're using phthalo for the sea. It's okay if you go over this, the hat, not go over the hat, go around the hat. And I'll adjust whatever needs to be adjusted here in a minute on the other side. I'm going to take again, same blue I've been using for the sky, cobalt blue and white, and give the sea right here a different kind of blue. All of these layers that we're putting right now are going to look a bit messy at first layer. The more layers we put, the nicer it looks. Okay, I'm going to let it dry, come back to it, and start refining all of this. I'm going to stop for a minute. Okay, so now for the sky, one more layer. And now this time I'm using white and cobalt blue, kind of a lighter colored blue, not too dark. Don't want the sky to look too dark. And in a minute, I will be adding the clouds. And we should be okay for this layer. All right. It doesn't have to be, it shouldn't look perfect because, you know, when we start adding the clouds, we're going to give some movement. Now I'm taking white, mixing it with blue, not only white, not just white, but I'm making the blue lighter. And I'm going to go in. Okay, I don't want it to be too light. Should be there, but not too strong, the clouds. With the corner of my brush, I'm just putting a layer of hint of clouds in there. And also, when I'm doing this, I'm putting wispy kind of clouds as well. So it's not only a shape of a cloud, it's kind of, I wisp it as well. I put it there and then I go through it. Good. Don't want to put too many. Simple. Hint. All right. That's it. I'll wait for it to dry and see if there's anything that needs to be adjusted, because I can see then the brush stroke when it's dry. Now, even now, if I find that it looks a bit choppy, the clouds, what I did is I wet my brush with water and then I go in and just kind of soften all of this choppy, if there's any kind of brush stroke that I don't like. There, done. All right, so now I'm mixing white and phthalo blue, and I'm going to paint another layer for the sea. I put a masking tape where the sand is, just to make it easy for me. I don't have to worry about that because the sea level or the seashore is a kind of straight line with the sea. So I can do that. It's easy this way. All right, so I'm going to do this here, and I'm going to switch now to cobalt blue and white. With a bit of phthalo, but lighter now. And I'm going to put that here. Let's take more white at this point. And put some waves. I'm switching to a smaller brush, still flat brush. Back to my turquoise and cobalt with white. and just kind of softening the white in here. Good. Let's take that same brush and just see a bit of movement. And now I'm going to take white again with the smaller brush. Maybe I should wait a bit for it to dry so I can see the white. Right now I can't. I'm adding white, but I'm not seeing it because the blue underneath is absorbing the white. So I will wait for the blue to dry and then I'll add white. A white line for a stronger wave. Okay. I'm going to keep everything for now and then I'll come back when it's dry. And then we'll move on to the sand, and the last thing we're going to do is put the people in. All right, so let's take white, and I'm just going to use the white I have here. Make sure that my brush is clean from where I'm going to be putting it against the canvas so it doesn't smudge. And I'm just going to add a hint of waves in here. A little bit here in front, and I put a bit of water in it now, so I don't want it to be too thick for this layer. But the first layer, yes, it was thick. Okay. Same. It's like a glaze right now. Really soft glaze, not too thick. So when it dries, it will dry more on the blue side. Let's add some blue in there. And it's like again, like a glaze. I'm just kind of putting it there and then just removing some of it with my finger. There. That's okay. That's enough. That's good. So now I can remove the masking tape and I'll have a straight line. I'm going to stop for a minute and then we can continue once we get to the sand part. Okay, for the sand, I'm going to use titanium buff, very small amount of Naples yellow, and ultramarine violet. So I am going to change my brush into a medium, maybe size brush. So this way I don't really have to, because I want some texture. So this is the difference. I'm going to do this. Let's take, and usually when I have dark color underneath, I'm very careful how much texture I want, because it shows through. So for now, let's take a tiny bit of yellow, Naples yellow, in the titanium buff, and ultramarine violet. And let's put this on, and then we will highlight it. But this way, if I have this color underneath, when I put the white, it will not look flat. Let's put, the upper part of the glass should be the same. We will, because it's transparent, so you will see the sand behind it, the sand color.
Just paint over the glass?
Yes, not the whole thing, just the upper part.
Okay. Oh, is that ultramarine violet there?
Yes, yes, ultramarine violet. Yes. So at this point, I'm just filling. Good, okay. Let's take a smaller brush. I'm going to take a small round brush at this point, and go around the legs, right here, the knees. Right here. And all around this area. Okay, I think we're good. There's one more layer for the sand, and we're done. We'll be okay for the sand. Now, since I'm working on this and waiting for the sand part to dry, I'm going to change my brush into a smaller one. And then I'm going to put more of the, add more of Naples yellow, ultramarine violet, and well, yeah, a little bit of titanium buff. And I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to add this color down at the bottom where there's a shadow underneath the umbrella and the chair. And actually underneath the chair there's a lot more of, it's darker even than what I'm doing right now. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to add more of the ultramarine violet into there, right here. Then I will highlight a bit with titanium buff. I will highlight this area a bit so I can give the sand a bit of movement. Okay, so now while this is drying, I'm going to go back to the sand, or I'm going to actually stop for a couple of minutes. All right, so now we're going to put the same colors. Let's take a little bit of ultramarine violet and put it in titanium buff and introduce white at this point. A little bit of yellow from Naples yellow. That's a nice combination. So I'm highlighting the sand right now. Yep, it's good color. All right. Doesn't hurt if some patches of the sand look a bit lighter, a bit darker. It doesn't have to be, of course, it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't look even. All right, let's do that. And now I'm just going to use a smaller brush for the smaller areas. So I'm switching to a smaller brush. Same, it's flat or bright, whatever you have. And I'm just going to highlight underneath in this area. And also here. All right, good. Now the sand, I'm going to highlight some parts of the sand underneath to give it some movement. For this, let's use the same brush, and I can use the flat part and the side corner. So I'm going to use the same colors. I'm going to take Titanium Buff and Ultramarine Violet, no white, and a bit of the Naples Yellow. All right, and let's see if we can get movement in there. It shouldn't be too light. I mean, we shouldn't go too light. Just enough to give us a nice movement of the sand. And let's see if it works. I'm just gonna go like that. Soft. Some areas are covered and some areas are like lines, like this. Okay, and then another right here has a bit more flatter kind of surface. Now, some of the flat surface I have here, I'm going to give it a bit more highlight. So not everything is the same. Some parts are highlighted a little bit more. And honestly, that's all we need to do. We don't need to do more than that. It's good enough. I want a little bit more kind of a stronger highlights here and there. Just so the sand looks wavy. It's not flat. Okay. Now I'm going to take the same color and the same highlight I'm using right here and make it more like a glaze, so it's transparent, not too thick. Soften some of the darks in there, some of them, not all of them. So you don't look like, it doesn't look like a hole, you know. All right, it's good. That's all we need to do. I'm going to stop recording. Okay, so now I'm highlighting the sand a little bit more because the paint is dry, so I can highlight a tiny bit more. Same colors, white, titanium buff. I'm not adding, I didn't add any Naples yellow, but at this point I can add a bit of texture just to make it look like sand. And it doesn't have to be a lot. And just on this side where it's on the left side, this side, it doesn't have to be everywhere. This way I can take advantage of the low layer underneath that's dark, that's kind of drying a little bit darker, and I can put another layer highlights, which will give me a bit of a sand texture, so it's not flat. There. Right, there we go. I think it's much nicer having some texture, some hint of movement of sand. Good. I'm just cleaning up some parts in here. Because again, when with acrylics, when the paint settles and it dries, you'll see a little bit of texture that I'd like to keep it, and it goes darker. So if I want to show more of the light, the strong sunny part, I need to add to cover this and to go over just a bit. Yeah, that's good. That gives me a really sunny beach. And that's it for this week. We're done for this week.
Careful you don't burn your